We're glad that you joined us today. Here in Mount Vernon, we have local hometown heroes, people who are difference makers right here in our community. And today we'd like to interview someone that's been on the front line of service. This person has gone the extra mile during this time. And here in Mount Vernon, we also pray. Last week was National Day of Prayer, and we joined together to pray for our nation and our community. So we're going to do a weekly interview each week, highlighting a local hometown hero, and ask that you would please join us in praying for them. In fact, we'll end each interview question with, how can we pray for you? So we're pleased to welcome our first hometown hero who's been on the front line of service.
Cade Hohenberger with Brookshires. We are so glad that you could be with us today, Cade, because you are the very first person we thought of when meeting the needs in this community and meeting them so well and responding to all the changes. And we wanted to ask you first and foremost, what has been the biggest challenge to you, and what kind of changes have you had to make in this environment?
Well, there's been a lot of challenges, and they change almost daily. Originally, whenever it first started, it was we couldn't get trucks here fast enough with enough product. And when they did get here, we didn't have enough people to stock it. And then when all of the buying continued, then warehouses started getting depleted. Manufacturers were unable to keep up. So it wasn't just at store level at that point. It was much more widespread. A lot of those obstacles have been overcome, and some still remain. But it's pretty much just a matter of if the manufacturers can produce it fast enough, and if truck drivers can keep it rolling on the highways and get it to us, we're quick to put it on the shelf once it hits our dock. But I would say therein lies some of the most difficult things that we've encountered, is just securing the amount of product that we need for our customers.
Cade, we were doing curbside. We were probably one of 8 families doing curbside before this hit. And all of a sudden, boom, I bet you had 108 people doing it. And I know you had to flex pretty quickly to keep up with that demand. I want to thank you for responding so quickly. And now it's only 2 hours out.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for that.
Well, you're welcome, and we're proud to offer that service. It's a convenience, and that's where it originated. But now it serves another purpose. It helps to keep people safe, people that don't need to be in close quarters with a lot of other people, trying to get the same product on the shelf at the same time. So, it's taken on a whole new reason for how important it is, and we're proud to do it. You're right, there wasn't just a tremendous demand for it, and yet now there is. And Brookshires has opened the windows and time slots. We can do several more per hour, and as you know, we extended our time frame on how many hours of a day that we'll process those orders. And I tell you that our team up there has really done a phenomenal job with communicating some of the items that we've been out of, coming up with what we think is a suitable or possible substitute for somebody. So the answer is not just, no, we don't have that item. It's, we don't have that item. Would this one work in its place? And they really do a good job. That's what they do all day long, and they're amazing at it. So hats off to them, and they continue to do a tremendous job.
Right. Well, I shop at your store weekly, and I have noticed that. I've noticed the employees shopping for those curbside shoppers, and I've also noticed that your store is very well stocked. I've been very impressed. Now, the toilet paper, sometimes that might be a little not as stocked, but you still have toilet paper, and you have a lot of the items that most people need, and I just want to thank you. The other thing I've noticed is that your employees always wear a smile. They're kind. They say kind words. You know that saying, one kind word can change someone's entire day.
Yes,
and you have trained them well. Y'all all work as a team, and I'm so impressed. So my question to you is, what acts of kindness have you witnessed that really have touched your heart right now?
There's several, but perhaps the one that doesn't really jump out to you, like seeing somebody change a tire for somebody that couldn't do it themselves. Maybe not something so obvious, but there's several people that I know that are shopping for other people, whether it's their neighbor or a family member. There's a ton of that going on. So you have somebody that might typically come to the grocery store every 2 weeks that's now coming to the store 3, 4, 5 times each week, and it's not necessarily for them. They're doing it for several neighbors, or they're shopping for their parents because they want to choose to allow them to stay home. Things like that. That really jumps out to me. Something else is at any time there's always hunger, and there shouldn't be, but there is, and this time is no exception. If anything, it's more so. And I think Brookshire's identified that as an opportunity to step into the communities and serve. They extended that opportunity to our customers with scan cards that we did for a period of time that Brookshire's would match. So if you, for example, decided to donate $5 to our local Franklin County Food Bank, Brookshire's would match that, and they did. So there was a tremendous support from the community on that, a great investment from Brookshire's into our communities. We operate in over 150 different communities, and they did that to each food bank.
Wow, thank you for that.
Cade, you referenced this a while ago, but we have enjoyed you, Cade, as our Brookshire's manager all these years.
Well, thank you.
But I'm going to circle back to the curbside idea, because you referenced this, that how helpful they've been suggesting substitutes or whatever. One day even sent me a joke, a vegetable joke. I thought that was so cute. But I want to know if you have made a point, how you have encouraged your own employees to keep such a positive culture of cheerfulness and helpfulness and service at Brookshire's.
So I think a lot of that comes from the pool of applicants that I get to choose from, and I don't think that it's lost on anyone that Mount Vernon produces a lot of top-notch candidates for service-oriented positions. So it starts out there. I have a good pool to choose from, and then from that pool I try to identify the ones that are just naturally friendly and outgoing and have a positive and pleasant demeanor. And some things can't be taught. They just come more natural for others. And I'm very fortunate that I have a team that those qualities that we look for in Brookshire's and other industries as well, they exemplify those. And so really, to be honest with you, I don't teach them or tell them or train them to be like that. I actually just turn them loose. And I say, exercise your personality in this, because that's what's going to, it's going to win over our customers and their confidence in our curbside program. And honest to goodness, it's all them. I just turn them loose, and I empower them to make the customer happy. And to date, they have not failed me or the customer yet.
That's the truth. That's the truth. Now, we know that during this time you've had to make changes. You've had to adapt to the environment, to what's going on in our world, in our nation, and right here in our communities. So what have you learned during this time in making those changes? Some of them may not be positive in one way, but have turned out to be positive. What have you seen in the change that you will take forward from now on and implement into the future?
So I wasn't really sure how to answer that question, and Andy told me that what I need to say is stockpile toilet paper. Have a 6-year supply at all times.
Yes, that's a good answer.
That's one thing I could do. But on a more serious note, I would say that I got to see how all of this developed, because it wasn't just one day no sickness and no panic and no anxiety to everyone is full-blown panicked and searching for toilet paper. It didn't happen in one day. It happened very quickly, but I did get to see it progress. And something that stuck out to me was perhaps some people that were more quick to respond or react with their anxieties, and some people are just genuinely scared, and for several reasons they should be. But how people respond to the anxiety and and how people respond to others' anxieties. That taught me a lot about some folks. You know, the people that wore a mask first, nobody was giving them a high five saying, you know, you're such a trooper, way to go, so proud of you. It was also, I mean, it was almost like, oh, look at them, what are they scared of, you know? But it was their choice, it made them feel safe. Brookshire's made it apparent and extended the offer that if you felt more safe at home and not serving the public, it's understandable, we respect it, and you won't lose your employment at Brookshire's. You know, you take the time that you need. And so those people were pushing through that anxiety, choosing to come to work because they were told they didn't have to. Their jobs would be protected, and yet they chose to serve. And they needed that extra comfort knowing that they were going to keep themselves, their customers, and their families safe, so they would wear the gloves and the masks and, you know, obviously excessive hand washing and things like that. Wasn't necessarily appreciated by all, whether it be customers or other partners. Perhaps people thought they were over the top, and now look at us. It's mandated in the stores. It's strongly encouraged by government officials and CDC guidelines to wear those facial coverings, to wear the gloves. So I would say, just moving forward, I think we need to be a little bit more respectful of the anxieties and the fear that is out there. Not to be a bully, just because we don't necessarily think that if you think that social distancing isn't important or a face mask isn't necessary. I'm not saying you're wrong, unless you're suggesting that somebody is wrong in doing those things.
Right.
So I would say just be a little bit more respectful of the situation that we have, be a little bit more respectful of the people that we might disagree with, and just moving forward, just knowing that we will eventually get toilet paper back, and these people are still your neighbors.
That's right.
You know, they're still your friends, or they're your grandmother's neighbor. I mean, we're all pretty closely connected when you start asking around. So just remember that people's anxieties are real; they're not imagined. And you know, this is a real time and a real circumstance where people respond differently, and understandably so. But I'm not going to hold it against you for not wearing a mask, and you shouldn't hold it against me for choosing to do so.
That's right. I love that answer. Good answer. Respect is always good.
I was going to ask you next, Cade, and I think you partially already answered that. But if you had anything else you would like to say to the public, here, this is your opportunity.
You know, really, I think that our public in Mount Vernon has been exceptional. I think through such an unprecedented time, at least in my experience in the grocery business, I've never seen anything like it. I've seen it on much smaller versions where, you know, hurricane-stricken areas, or Y2K, or 9/11, and things that really made people anxious. It affected their buying habits, their shopping patterns. It affected the commodities we were able to secure, but never for such an extended period of time. And so we're really seeing a strain. It's not broke, but we're seeing a strain on either our ability to produce, our ability to transport, or our ability to process in any capacity. So we see some strains there, and I appreciate Mount Vernon's understanding, knowing that, you know, we're going through a tough time. We're trying to keep the shelves stocked, and this is one time that I can almost guarantee you that when you don't see it on the shelf and you ask somebody, do you have any of this in the back, I can almost guarantee you the answer is no. We turn the stock we do have multiple times each day. We're getting it out as fast as we can get it, and doing our best to keep everybody, you know, monitoring the limits, you know, the limit 2 packages of this or the 1 package of that, because we do have a large community that we are serving. It's a little bit bigger than Mount Vernon. We share a lot of customers with other communities as well, especially if their local grocery store had happened to run out. It would put extra stress and pressure on another retailer to have those items. So more than anything, I guess, long way around to answer your question, I really appreciate our customers. They've been extremely understanding. in this difficult time, and our employees who have had more opportunities and reasons to just throw in the towel and say, I'm done, you know, I'm going to get a job selling shoes or something completely different than the grocery store. They've stuck with it, and if anybody should be awarded a Cade because they're superheroes, it's the folks just a couple of blocks from here. They've really done a stellar job. I've never been more proud of my team than I am today.
Well, we appreciate you and your team, and just know that we're praying for you. There are many in this community that are praying for you, lifting you up in prayer. So we always want to ask this last question: how can we pray for you? And have you found yourself praying more in these days?
Certainly. So I've been asked that before, and I would say perhaps my prayers haven't gotten longer, but they've certainly been, more earnest. And it's really the only peace that you can actually find, and it's the only peace that could actually last. As you can see, everything else is super perishable on the grocery shelves, and it comes and it goes.
That's right.
Whether it's toilet paper that has a 100-year shelf life, it doesn't matter if
Right.
it's not there. But what does matter is the peace that you can only get from God, and He doesn't just grant it. He has to know that you want it and that you appreciate it, and so you have to ask for it. So yes, I do find myself asking. Specifically, how you could pray for me is really no different than I would ask you to pray for the people that I work with or the folks in the community that I live. That we continue to be respectful, patient, and understanding of the anxiety that's out there, the reasons that have caused it, to be patient with one another, and just to know that whether it passes next month or next year, or what, we're going to overcome it, because we are more than overcomers, right? We can do this, and with His help and guidance, we can do it in a lot better fashion. So we're going to get through it one way or the other. I would appreciate y'all's prayers and just reminding everyone to do what they can with what they have, but to ultimately turn it over to God and know that He's the one that's going to see them through.
Amen. Wonderful.
Cade, that's a great answer. We hope that today we have asked the questions that most anybody would want to ask you, and you and all of your employees have done such a fantastic job.
Well, thank you.
And just know that for what it's worth, we are declaring you a hometown hero and a difference maker. Absolutely a difference maker in this community.
Well, thank you. We're happy to do it.
There was a poster in World War II in Great Britain, bright red paper, that said, your courage, your cheerfulness, and your resolution will win the victory. And of course, they were being bombed every night, but the shock value of when all this began is about maybe close to that. We're getting used to it now, aren't we? But that was a poster that, when I saw it, inspired me to think that commitment and cheerfulness actually makes a difference in the outcome of things. And we have something else we want to share with you today that's a local memento that we hope you'll remember, that it symbolizes just what we want to convey to you today.
Cade, we have a very special friend who went on a trip in Brazil, and someone gave her this key and said, this is a key for a community that's experiencing revival and unity and coming together and standing together. We'd like to present this key to you and your team for what you are doing in our community, what you've done, and what you'll continue to do. And we just want to thank you for standing together with us today.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you very much.
Cade, we thank you, and we thank Brookshire's for giving us the interview with you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Happy to do it.
Let us know whatever we can do for you all.